Do you even realize this is a fancy steakhouse? It's not a place for poor people.
I was on the verge of tears, having this special celebration of my grandfather's retirement ruined by him. Then, my grandmother approached and looked him in the eye. After a moment of certainty, she spoke. "Don't mind him. This place is finished anyway." My name is Grace. My mom is always busy with work, so my grandparents have always showered me with love. Since both my dad and mom worked late, I mostly had dinner at my grandparents' house, which was near our home, during my school days. When my parents couldn't make it to the school events, my grandparents were always there, so I never felt alone. I even have memories of both my parents and grandparents coming together for my sports day. Now, 8 years into my career and living alone far away, we still keep in touch over the phone. My grandparents always made sure I didn't feel lonely. I love them dearly. And this month, my grandfather is retiring. He's the head of an accounting firm and doesn't have a mandatory retirement age, but it seems he's retiring due to his physical limits. I wish he stays healthy forever. I wanted to do something special for his retirement celebration, so I decided to invite my grandparents to a fancy steakhouse. I found this upscale steakhouse by asking colleagues and checking internet reviews. According to my colleagues, the quality of meat is excellent, sourced by discerning butchers. I haven't been there, but it's a steakhouse that's been gaining popularity recently. The young and handsome owner is also said to be a reason for its popularity. Worried about not getting a table, I decided to make a reservation under my name. After a few rings, someone from the restaurant answered.
Hi, Steakhouse Wilson speaking.
The casual tone was unexpected for an upscale steakhouse. The lightheartedness of the staff's voice on the other end made me a bit uneasy. Hi, I'd like to make a reservation."
Sure, I'll need the date and your name, please.
I wanted to comment on the informal way he spoke, but I remembered my colleagues saying it was a quality and popular place. I really wanted to take my grandparents there. So, despite my reservations, I gave the staff the details. The staff repeated my name unnaturally several times. I was puzzled. But the reservation was successful and I hung up and told my grandparents, "Hello, Grandma? Remember I said we're celebrating Grandpa's retirement this Sunday? I've made a reservation at a restaurant. Please let Grandpa know too." "Oh, Grace, thank you. It's a place your Grandpa and I have never been to. We're looking forward to it." I could hear my grandpa's voice beside her.
I'm looking forward to it too.
Their excitement made me happy. Actually, my grandparents are huge steak lovers, often dining out at steakhouses alone. This was a new place for them too, so I was excited about what kind of steakhouse it would be. Then, the long-awaited day of my grandfather's retirement celebration arrived. The three of us went to the reserved upscale steakhouse. The stylish black decor of the restaurant exuded luxury and sophistication. There were many congratulatory flowers at the entrance, including some from a well-known high-end steakhouse, raising our expectations. My grandmother looked happily at them. Next to it was a chain steakhouse seemingly thriving with the different clientele. "Such a nice atmosphere," she commented.
Grace found this place for us. I'm excited.
My grandpa added. "I'm excited too since it's my first time here." As we entered, chatting and laughing, the owner at the counter looked up.
Welcome. Wait, is that Grace?
"Yes, I am Grace, but..."
Wow, it really is you, right?
His over-familiar tone didn't sit right with me. I felt uneasy when I made the phone reservation and it seemed my intuition was correct. The owner may be good-looking, but his behavior was off-putting. The atmosphere of the restaurant was great, but the owner himself was ruining it. I thought it was a shame. My grandparents next to me seemed to feel the same, their smiles fading. This was my first time at the steakhouse, so I should know the owner. Had we met somewhere else? I tried to recall, but nothing came to mind. It was disappointing that the atmosphere of my grandfather's retirement celebration was spoiled, and I responded a bit coldly. "I don't know you. Have we met before?" Then the owner's attitude changed abruptly.
Damn, you don't remember? It's me, Wilson. We were in middle school together.
Wilson. Oh, now that you mention it, I kind of remember. I vaguely recalled him as being quite frivolous, always chatting up various girls. So you became the owner? I think we made a reservation. Can we sit down? I wanted to get my elderly grandparents seated quickly as they were still standing. I approached Wilson at the counter. Then Wilson leaned forward slightly from the counter, bringing his face closer.
Let's go out for a drink sometime, or I'll cook a steak for you.
Wilson whispered softly. I felt a chill run down my spine. Sorry, I have a boyfriend. As I said this, Wilson clicked his tongue. Then he turned back to the computer inside the counter.
You made a reservation?
He scrolled through the screen with a mocking attitude. Yes, I did.
It doesn't seem like your reservation is in here. Maybe you confused us with the steakhouse next door?
What? No way! I checked the name of the place and made the reservation over the phone. I tried to take out my mobile phone to check my call history, but couldn't find it in my bag due to the panic. I gave up on searching for the phone. I wanted to tell him that such a frivolous attitude could only be his, but I don't want to cause trouble during my grandfather's retirement celebration.
Do you even realize this is a fancy steakhouse? It's not a place for poor people. I doubt Grace's salary as much, and there's no way your pensioner grandparents can afford this place.
I was on the verge of tears, having the special celebration ruined. I could hear the voice of another customer who had entered before us. That poor girl. I can also hear the voice. Then my grandmother came closer and stared at Wilson's face. You. Her soft hand gently rested on my shoulder, comforting me. She then soothed my hunched back with her hand. Thanks to my grandmother, I was able to regain my composure, which was on the verge of shattering. Grace, don't bother with him. This place is finished. My grandmother cast a cold gaze at Wilson.
What did you say, old woman?
Then my grandmother smiled with the corners of her lips lifted. You said you trained for 10 years and opened this shop, right?
Yes, that's right.
Was it at the famous steakhouse in this neighborhood? As she said this, my grandmother mentioned the name of a renowned old steakhouse. Wilson's eyes widened in surprise.
You understand now, right? How amazing I am for having trained there?
Wilson puffed up his chest with pride. My grandmother watched him with a look of disdain, and then sighed before speaking to him. I know the owner of the place where you trained. We're old acquaintances, so I'm well aware of that shop. And talking to you, I'm convinced of something. My grandmother, standing tall beside me, looked sharply at Wilson. The one who's been stealing their ingredients is you. Your shop's recent popularity, supposedly due to your good eye for ingredients, makes sense now.
What are you talking about?
I can't believe you have the skill to source such good ingredients. You're still stealing them, aren't you?
Hey, old lady, how can I steal ingredients from a place I've left?
Well, perhaps there's an accomplice? Maybe someone who gave you the electronic lock code.
An accomplice? Your imagination is wild.
Oh dear, I can't just let you brush it off as imagination. Maybe your staff is being questioned by the police as we speak.
Huh?
Wilson's attitude started to shift gradually. Initially condescending to my grandmother, he now looked at her, sweating and terrified. Then my grandfather, who had been observing the exchange, spoke up.
By the way, the owner consulted me about filing a lawsuit. My daughter is a lawyer.
I distinctly felt the eyes of the other customers in the restaurant focus on us at the mention of a lawsuit. Some customers were filming with their mobile phones, and my grandfather discreetly asked them to stop. Actually, my mom works as a lawyer. Because of that, my grandparents received a consultation from a friend who couldn't ask my mom directly.
So what if she's a lawyer? Do you have any proof?
We do, my grandmother responded promptly. She was like a detective cornering a culprit, and I felt proud of her. My daughter advised the owner to secretly install surveillance cameras. You didn't know, did you? Considering there might be an accomplice, even the employees weren't informed. Your face is on that footage. I just saw it yesterday with my daughter, so I remember clearly."
No way!
My grandmother raised her index finger and continued, "Just wait. My daughter will be suing you soon." Wilson, pale-faced, pleaded with me.
Grace, help me out. We go way back. If you liked me in middle school, help me.
"What? Don't make things up."
You always skipped our middle school reunions, right? I heard from a friend that you liked me back then. You rejected me because you were shy. I knew it.
That makes no sense. I had never attended a middle school reunion. I couldn't believe such a false rumor was spread about me. I don't know who this friend was, but they shouldn't spread such nonsense. I felt an urge to punch the man in front of me. My whole body was trembling with anger. I deeply regretted booking this restaurant for my grandfather's retirement celebration. Yet, Wilson looked at me as if he was certain I would help him. His confidence was baffling, only increasing my resentment.
Please, Grace!
Wilson dropped one of his well-shaped eyebrows, a look of someone aware of their own attractiveness. He might be considered handsome if he didn't speak, but knowing his character, he appeared empty to me. I sighed deeply. Why should I help Wilson? I never liked you for even a moment. I clearly remembered Wilson from middle school, a boy who flirted with girls as easily as breathing. One day when I was writing in the class diary, staying late in the sunlit classroom, Wilson entered and sat next to me, casting a shadow over the diary. He smiled.
"Won't you go out with me?"
and said, despite having another girlfriend at the time. Back then, I brushed it off. "Don't say such things when you have someone else," saying, "I remember you now. Wilson, the worst!"
Damn it, Grace. You always looked down on me, even when I offered to date you. Out of spite for that time, I canceled your reservation. It's all your fault. Damn it.
Why are you so arrogant, Wilson? It's your own fault. Wilson collapsed to the floor, curling up inside the counter.
This wasn't supposed to happen. It's Grace's fault for rejecting me.
He whined pitifully. I exchanged glances with my grandmother, who shrugged in disbelief. In the distance, we heard the sound of a police siren. Perhaps one of the customers had called the police. The siren stopped in front of the shop and the door opened. The police officer stood there, with many people peering from behind.
Excuse me, we received a report of an incident here.
Wilson was then taken away by the officer. As he was being led away, Wilson looked at me as if wanting to say something. I waited for an apology, but he quickly looked away. I doubted he would ever reflect on his actions. Wilson was sued, and his upscale steakhouse went under. It seemed the cause was his actions being exposed to the public. Afterward, I heard Wilson was job hunting, but he never seemed to land a job. The fact that he was sued appeared to be a burden. Perhaps, if he had shown remorse and tried to turn his life around, someone might have helped him. But given his attitude, it was unlikely anyone would. After Wilson's case was resolved, I decided to have a proper retirement celebration for my grandfather. Congratulations on your retirement, Grandpa! My grandparents and I were at a different upscale steakhouse. This was another place they hadn't been to before, and they seemed excited about it. Inside the counter, a quiet young man was calmly grilling steaks. This restaurant had also opened recently. It's a small steakhouse, run solely by a young owner.
Grace, thank you for arranging such a wonderful retirement celebration.
My grandfather smiled gently. You've worked hard, Grandma said. The three of us exchanged smiles. Even the owner behind the counter gave a soft smile. This is delicious.
So good. The best steak I've ever had.
Really, it's very delicious. It's a pity Olivia couldn't join us. Olivia is the name of my mom. It can be helped. Mom is busy with her law practice. I'll take her here on another day. Don't worry. Grace, you're so kind.
Yes.
I blushed at being called kind. Oh, we haven't toasted yet. Trying to hide my embarrassment, I picked up my glass. My grandparents did the same. Then, on the count of 3, cheers! I lit the toast, tilting my glass. As my grandparents tilted their glasses too, a modest sound rang out. It felt like a signal of happiness.